In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, praise be to God, the cherisher and sustainer of the world, most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee do we worship, and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who go not astray. Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Leroy Harris. I am the ambassador for the New Church of Christians here in America. You can think of me as the ambassador for Christ. Welcome to our New Church of Christians. How can Christians be a new church, you might wonder? The Christian believers are the church, particularly when they rally around Christ, whenever, wherever. Our next tenet for our discussion is atonement. The common definition for atonement is vocalized as at one meant, or becoming one with God by satisfying divine justice and providing reconciliation for humanity's sins, thereby enabling a harmonious relationship with God. As new Christians, to be at one meant with God is our objective. It is our objective not to satisfy some so-called divine justice or provide reconciliation for humanity's sins. This is the old church's perspective and claim. But not the new church. We see this right differently. Atonement has done more to keep the people asleep and ignorant than some of the other elements of the tenets that distracted and misdirected the believers' good intentions. In fact, it is the reason that so many Christians today are just religious people. They don't expect to do anything except be religious and go to church. For them, what else is there to do when in their thoughts all their sins have been said forgiven? And so now one can live the animal life. We don't accept that the people became separated from God due to their sins. This claim is supposed to have justified the need for Jesus' sacrifice and the reconciliation of God with the whole world. Ignorance naturally separates anyone from God. Always have. What we know about sin, the people have always been responsible for their deeds, sins or not. Many people are under the impression that they have sinned, but Jesus' death made their behavior forgiven. Their behavior is forgivable now. And then they are said to become God's favorite people because of their reconciliation. This does not make any sense to me, because this is nothing but smoke from the animal people. Why would God compensate a people who choose to defy the law of one and who deserves the consequences of their behavior. Why? And yet, what's more irrational, why would God sacrifice his son to encounter danger and death for the sake of atoning the people's sins? The word sin is a word used actually to talk about something without actually saying it. Sin is not the issue. But for a better word, crime. Crime against each other is the real problem in all of its forms. The God of Abraham does not recognize the Christian's atonement as mentioned. Abraham's God recognized no such claim and does not express any anger and frustration against any creature. Why would God express emotional anguish against creatures he created? Truthfully, one should become suspicious about the atonement. When God takes an emotional position regarding his creatures, why would God need to express disappointment in the creatures he's supposed to have created? Did he not know what he created in the nature of his creatures? Did he not know? Believe it or not, the Creator has fixed the nature of all living creatures that God acknowledges and directs according to the Creator's plan. Obviously, this so-called atonement does not mean the same to our rational and conscious believers in Christ. Why would God atone for the behavior of the animal people who are really criminals? Why? And all people are not humans. Did not God make that distinction? So the animal people gave the world a pacifier in the atonement to distort their good intentions. Let us say we accept the Christian tenet, the atonement, on face value. How does that benefit a believer's personal life as Christians in this day and time? The world is worse now than it ever was during the time of Jesus. What happened to the atonement that's supposed to have forgiven all the faults of the people? Somebody didn't get the memo. It seems like the world would be a better place to live as one people. This had been atoned. The law of one declares that every individual must each account for the use of one's physical endeavor. So how could Jesus have died for everybody's bad behavior, and yet the world is more sinister than ever? Is anybody suspicious yet? Nobody has ever been given atonement for striving for self-development and spiritual growth. Atonement usually applies to those who have been wronged. Unwarranted atonement works against a believer who believes to possess something one don't actually understand. Striving towards the unity of God is all the atonement one needs, believe it or not. There are no sins connected to humanity, as some claim, because those who reside there in humanity are all human beings, honorable personalities with excellent behavior. There are no sinners who reside in the humanity. It should be clear who the real sinners are: the animal people. And they have been the original sinners since the ordeal of Adam and Eve in the garden. They are the ones, the Homo sapien animals, who recognize no shame, who stands to gain the most by keeping the people ignorant and restrained. The animal people. Let me recall when Adam and Eve were in the garden. They are said to have sinned when they acted on the advice of the serpent and ate the forbidden fruit. Their sin, eating the apple, consists of breaking a law of the garden, God's order. Imagine the experience of one eating a fruit before it's ripe, after being told not to. This was the scenario in the garden with Adam and Eve. To sin, by esoteric standards, means to take some material item out of its original form and shape to make into something else. According to the Bible, the apple is the instrument of sin. Adam and Eve ate the apple, but the actual sin was done when they extracted from that apple apple jelly, apple sauce, apple cider, and more. So then, when one takes an item and transforms it into something else, is that not a sin? If that is the case, then industry is a sinning factor. So the sin could not be a bad phenomenon if properly understood. So now, when people in a society or industrial, they are committing a sin according to the animal people. They are people who are doing something important, attempting to satisfy some great need by their deeds. The scripture speaks of one's deeds to be evaluated for merit and growth. Deeds have value, particularly when they contribute to the quality of life. The scripture says that sinners would be judged by their deeds and not sins. Where sin may not be the culprit, crime is. Crime is the culprit. The true benefit of the so-called atonement is the security one seeks. All people's relationship with God is supposed to have been restored in the form of atonement. So restoration is appropriate for the works and the mission of Christ. Without the restoration of the human culture, the people would not enjoy the comfort and peace of mind. I've not met any so-called Christian who really understood the atonement. And their ignorance told me that they are just religious people. It also showed me that they have no idea the mission of the religion. And anybody who claims a religion and cannot explain its purpose is merely going through the motion. They are wandering through a maze mindlessly. Such people are in every type of religion. They are passive and will not confront the enemy who threatens their liberties and family safety, not to mention personal beliefs. They don't investigate the elements of their religion to be certain of their devotion and duties and their expectations. These people, you can be sure, is living their religion based on hearsay and rumors, which appear to be more a hell than a heaven. How many Christians do you know are aware of the true definition of atonement? How many? Have you discussed with them anything concerning it? Atonement is what most Christians are supposed to be excited about. Did they get excited when you brought it up? I don't think so. Atonement signifies the process by which people remove obstacles towards their reconciliation with God. In other words, a people must be vigilant and remove all the falsehood that distorts their relationship with God. In truth, it is supposed to represent expiation, reconciliation, and the restoration of the human livelihood. Let us look at expiation. It is said to be the act of making amends and reparation for guilt and wrongdoing. So it is, the dictionary says, the guilt and wrongdoing has to be on the animal people. If I was treated wrongly, then I would expect some type of apology or reparation. But why would I expect any kind of compensation or consideration if I am the one doing the wrong? Who is the responsible party supposed to grant atonement to the people as promised? Who is the benefactor of the atonement? Will the Romans or the animal people compensate the world from God's resources? Who is supposed to make life right for the people who was wronged? Who? Did you know that on the Day of Atonement, the priests celebrated with the sacrificial goat and its blood? Their ritual indicates that the celebration is telling the animal people that they are atoned by the goat and its blood. Their ritual is similar to the one the satanic worshippers practice. Every life destroyed by the animal people is understood to be without fault or consequences. If the Christians don't expect any real benefit from atonement, then the animal people do. It is a sign to them to do as they please in the name of survival. This is where the scapegoat comes from. The scapegoat. They're using the scapegoat on us. The satanic worshippers' symbol is the goat head as a pentagram inside a circle. They kill a goat and take his blood and sprinkle it over members' head 7 times. Don't they call that practice or religion? All this ritualistic stuff means one thing: their exemption from crime. Some of them expect something magical from the worship, but having the advantage over others is what the animal people really prefer. That's what they're aiming for. That's what they prefer. Ask yourself, who is responsible for giving the atonement? I am still asking again. I'm asking. Did the Romans separate the peoples from God? If so, then how? Why would God be separated from the people and the world because of what the Romans did to Jesus? Why? For those who really are not knowledgeable about God, let me tell you, God is all-knowing, all-seeing, ever-present at all times and is never absent from any place. One can only be separated from God through one's ignorance. That's the separation I know about. God cannot be appreciated as the reality without one's knowledge and awareness. Are we sensing a discrepancy there somewhere? If Jesus died for everybody's wrongdoings, then where is the atonement? Where is it? Any reasonable person knows when he or she had received something of value and importance. They know when they receive something. Maybe you know when you have something. And the atonement, if accurate, would be something of great value and importance. So where is it? I don't recall when Jesus was on the scene that all the people and he was enjoying the presence of the jubilation of God. I don't recall anything of that nature. And just talking about God at that time would have likely gotten one killed. In that time period of Jesus, it was no time of merriment. It was not that time. It was not that kind of environment or time. The people were already separated when Jesus came along. How could they have a real relationship with God in ignorance? Jesus had to teach them against the animal people's dismay. And Jesus' work was not about reconciliation, but to make the people consciously aware of their relationship with God as human beings. Mind you, there was no Christian religion at that time. Don't forget, the animal people and their mentality has been dominating the people's atmosphere and environment for a while. The mentality that we must identify and then remove it from our presence. We, the believers, must do this. We must do this because God would not do what we can do for ourselves. People pray to God to do something of a relief for them, but then afterwards feel their prayers was not answered when it didn't happen. It seemed that way when the praying person could have done that what he or she prayed for themselves. Could have did it themselves. Most people pray for certain reliefs that they could obtain themselves with a little thinking and planning. Just a little thinking and planning. They can answer their own prayer. The animal people tried to shut down the Christians at one point, but those wise men used their devious thinking against them. They circulated propaganda that seemed to support their rhetoric and rumors that they thought assisted them in their plans. I think the Day of Atonement was the work and strategy of those wise men. Those wise men could have put it in the air, just so the animal people would take it as their own good idea. Most people already believed the atonement meant the unity of the people in God. But as you can see, the animal people saw it as something else, as their code of exemption from any physical consequences. Let us get back to the goat for just a moment. Take a look at their goat ritual and see whether the priests are celebrating the unity of God with the believers, or are they just worshiping the goat? We all have probably heard of the scapegoat. Everybody heard about the scapegoat. Well, this is where it originated, from the animal people. The goat is said to bear and absorb all blame and guilt that benefit the animal people. This is their effort to have no guilt about their behavior. Abraham sacrificed a goat to save and preserve the human life. When the animal people kill the goat, it is to justify the taking of the human life. If the believers would really look behind the tenet atonement, they will see a different worship. They will see the people for who they really are, the animal people. Christians should now be able to see the loss and gain of the atonement. They should be able to see the loss and gain. The animal people have long benefited the most from this rite or sacrament. I believe it's a rite. With the believers not actually knowledgeable about the elements of atonement, such as reconciliation, expiation, and restoration, cannot knowingly benefit from it. And they will never benefit from it standing on the other side in ignorance. The animal people realized, after they could not stop the growing popularity of the Christian religion, to use it for their purpose in order to control the people's behavior and have their way. The confusion surrounding the Christian religion allowed the animals to dominate and rule the people. Every act of the heinous nature they did to the innocent and unsuspecting people, they did and still are doing in the name of Christianity. When the animal people wanted to take over a country and its resources, they used Christianity to invade and take control of the people they targeted. Christianity at one point gained the reputation as a band of thieves and crooks. And those So-called Christians would even quote the Bible as God's authority for their obedience. Every cruel act that could be done to a person or a believer, it was done in the name of Christianity. I recall the Ku Klux Klan would burn a cross in their ceremonies, claiming to be a Christian Brotherhood. Is it not time for the vindication of the Christian religion? Is it not time? They had to know that eventually the truth about Christianity would be found out, would be revealed. The world would have to eventually know that the Christianity is the religion for practicing humans. The animal people, disguised as religious, stole, robbed, and even killed many people the world over, ruthlessly aiming to satisfy their inclination towards survival. They did all sorts of unreligious acts in the name of Christianity because there was nobody to say anything different or say anything about its purpose until now. Until the new church of Christians arrived on the scene. Somebody had to come along eventually and defend the reputation of Christianity as a legitimate religion. Right today, among us there are people who claim to be absolute Christians with behavior so vulgar and criminal that you would not trust these people with a minute of your presence. They are so-called Christians. There are so-called Christians who are the worst people one could meet. They are animals disguising themselves as humans. The true Christianity had to eventually be found out and its true nature revealed as a religion of morals and purpose. How can anyone think that Christianity was suitable for moral discipline with the barbaric history associated with it? How? Criminals and thieves have done everything unimaginable in the name of Christianity. Who get atoned for that? Who? In the Bible, it states that Jesus offered himself as ransom for the people's atonement. And the story continued to grow more complex for misdirection. If we as true believers will allow it, but we are not. We as Christians need to stand up, out and away from the grave now. Besides the reconciliation, expiation, restoration is the part of atonement that we can relate to as believers who already believed. You want to be atoned? You want to be forgiven your past social errors? Atone yourself with the truth of this religion by raising the human character to dignity and honor. This means that the believer's effort to reunite the human brotherhood will be that restoration, our restoration. Then we as Christian believers are compelled to demonstrate the integrity of the Christian religion. To restore something means to put it back in its original form, shape, and condition Bring it back to life, in other words. I often would hear older people say when I was a child, give me back that old time religion, for the old time religion is good enough for me. What religion was that? You might ask. What religion? It was and is the religion of Abraham. And his religion was his natural human function as his livelihood. He lived a morally clean life. He loved and worshiped God, and his character earned him the friendship title from and with God. He became known as the friend of God. The friend of God. Big shoes of the Father to fill. Big shoes. Remember, the Father sets the tone for his family's environment and atmosphere to live by. The tone means any verbal directions and influences that result in harmony and felicity. Believe it or not, but life really becomes simpler when we follow the lead of our father, Abraham. That's really how we can restore the human culture and its livelihood. And believe me, Abraham's life example was not complicated. That's why his character is the perfect model. He lived a human life. So now, if we accept the true atonement, it would be our cue to unite and make amends for our neighbors and be one with the Father and God. Being human has everything to do with one's thoughts and behavior. Living is not a mindless act for believers who desire to be human beings. Living is a conscious responsibility. I have already explained the identity of the human in our past discussion, but I'm always going to be talking about it. Yet there are more to the human being. A lot more I need to talk about. So stay with me. I said that all people are not human. I've said that a number of times. Every person seen walking around, shopping alongside you, are not humans. Those people who are not humans are animals. The human being is a spiritual creature, and the animal people are biological creatures. One can only identify the animal people amongst the many through their behavior and speech. Though they all try to mimic the human character to appear normal like everybody else, they cannot hide their true animal nature. When you witness a person claiming to be human but behaving as the animal, is there a definite giveaway? Pay attention. Watch for that. They will always blame or claim their ill behavior on the devil. The devil made me do it. The devil made him do it. Anyway, the devil gets the blame. Don't forget that it was man's thinking and reasoning that the human idea came about and into existence. His thinking raised his spiritual essence into the atmosphere and left the animal people on the ground in the environment. This is what you have. This is the situation. This is it. The bottom line. The human concept depicts a type of vehicle that allows the spirit of man to be transported to the non-physical realm of existence, the hereafter. Like I said, all human practitioners are not complete humans just because someone says so. Those desiring to be humans must start by practicing the moral code for proper behavior and cognize its philosophy for mental stability. The philosophy is doing service to others is the same as doing service to self. And it is supported by a golden rule. Do unto others that what you want them to do to you. After every difficulty comes the ease, because there has to be a start and a constant effort towards perfecting the human character for excellence. One must invest his or her spirit in the human ideal wholeheartedly until mastery is obtained and conscious knowing one's existence. If a believer believes he or she has sinned, then a constant exercise in human awareness in practice would be atoned with human maturity. The Tao being is the second part of the identity, the human being. When the human practitioner accomplishes the level of beingness, it will reflect one's conscious achievement in being human. This concludes our conversation on atonement. Our next tenet for discussion will be about salvation. Please be sure to join me and the Brotherhood in our new church. I pray that I have said something useful and nourishing. I really look forward to our next meeting in our Christian atmosphere. I leave you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator, so you can now rejoice in the presence and in the peace of Christ. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments below so I can get to know you better and count you and me together amongst the righteous in our human hospitality. Come to prayer. Come to success.